The story of rising unemployment is never just a matter of statistics or charts. It is a living, breathing narrative woven through households, workplaces, communities, and the quiet spaces where people wrestle with uncertainty. When economists talk about the unemployment rate, they often speak in percentages, decimals, and historical comparisons. But beneath those numbers are millions of individual lives. People who wake up each morning wondering whether the next email will bring an interview, whether the next bill will be manageable, whether the next month will look anything like the last. The official unemployment rate, known as U3, captures only a fraction of this reality. It counts those actively searching for work, but it does not include the discouraged worker who has stopped applying after months of silence, the part-time employee who desperately wants full-time hours, or the gig worker juggling 3 unstable jobs to piece together a living. Broader measures like U6 attempt to capture more of this complexity, but even they fall short of expressing the emotional and psychological weight that accompanies economic uncertainty. The labor market of the mid-2020s has undergone a dramatic transformation. After the pandemic, the economy experienced a hiring boom unlike anything in recent memory. Job openings soared to record highs, wages surged, and workers found themselves with unprecedented leverage. Companies competed for talent, offering signing bonuses, flexible schedules, remote work options, and rapid promotions. But as inflation rose and interest rates followed, the landscape shifted. Job openings began to decline. Hiring processes slowed. Wage growth cooled. The balance of power gradually tilted back toward employers. Workers who once felt confident in their ability to switch jobs now found themselves sending out dozens of applications with fewer responses. Hiring managers who once scrambled to fill roles now sifted through hundreds of applicants, taking their time, raising their standards, and quietly tightening their criteria. This shift is not always visible in the headline numbers, but it is deeply felt by those navigating the job market. Consider Marcus, a 38-year-old logistics coordinator who spent more than a decade building a stable career. When his company restructured and eliminated his position, he approached the job search with optimism. He had experience, a strong resume, and a reputation for reliability. But as weeks turned into months, the responses slowed, interviews dragged on, and promising opportunities evaporated without explanation. His savings, once a cushion, began to feel like an hourglass. He found himself waking up earlier, refreshing job boards before breakfast, rewriting cover letters late into the night, and questioning whether the problem was the market or something about him. The longer the search stretched, the more the uncertainty seeped into other parts of his life, his relationships, his routines, his sense of identity. He stopped going out with friends to save money. He hesitated before buying groceries that weren't strictly necessary. He found himself rehearsing answers to interview questions in the shower, on walks, even while cooking dinner. The job search became not just a task, but a shadow that followed him everywhere. Or consider Olivia, a recent college graduate who expected to enter a thriving job market. She had watched older students land internships and full-time roles with ease. She had listened to professors talk about the war for talent and the abundance of opportunities in marketing, communications, and tech. But when she graduated, the tone had shifted. Recruiters were polite but non-committal. Job postings were plentiful but vague. Interviews were scheduled, rescheduled, then cancelled. She found herself sending out hundreds of applications, taking part-time work to stay afloat, and moving back home to save money. She told herself it was temporary, but as the months passed, she felt the weight of expectations, her own, her family's, society's, pressing down on her. She wondered whether she had chosen the wrong major, whether she should pivot careers, whether she should go back to school, whether she should settle for something outside her field. She was technically employed, but deeply underemployed, a reality invisible in the headline unemployment rate. Her story, like Marcus's, reveals the gap between the official data and the lived experience. These stories illustrate a labor market that is cooling beneath the surface, even if the official numbers still appear healthy. The early signs of softening are subtle but unmistakable. Job openings decline. The ratio of openings to unemployed workers narrows. Job searches take longer. Wage growth flattens. Continuing unemployment claims rise as more people remain stuck in the search phase. Inside companies, hiring managers like Priya see a flood of applications for every role, many from overqualified candidates willing to take a step down. Executives quietly instruct teams to be more selective, more cautious, and more targeted. Hiring freezes are not always announced, they simply happen. Businesses do not panic, they adjust. But those adjustments accumulate, and eventually they show up in the data. This shift matters because unemployment is not just a labor statistic, it is the first domino in a chain reaction that moves through the entire economy. When people feel uncertain about their job security, they tighten their spending long before they lose their jobs. Households begin making different choices: fewer restaurant visits, fewer vacations, fewer big purchases, more coupon use, more cooking at home, more delaying of repairs and upgrades. A family-owned restaurant that once buzzed on Friday nights now sees empty tables, smaller orders, and customers choosing water instead of soda. The owner feels the shift in her gut before she sees it in her books. She notices that regulars come in less often, that families split in tray instead of ordering their own, that people linger less and tip more cautiously. She adjusts her staffing, her inventory, her expectations. This is how a consumer slowdown begins, quietly, gradually, and emotionally. As households tighten, financial stress begins to rise. Even before unemployment increases significantly, delinquencies start creeping up: credit cards, auto loans, rent, utilities. Families like David and Jasmine sit at the kitchen table reviewing bills, cutting subscriptions, postponing repairs, and stretching groceries. They are not in crisis, but they are tightening. And if hours are cut again or a job is lost, tightening becomes stress, and stress becomes delinquency. The emotional toll is real: sleepless nights, tense conversations, quiet fears about the future. When delinquencies rise, lenders tighten standards. Credit limits shrink, mortgage approvals become harder to obtain, auto lenders demand higher credit scores. Students struggle to secure private loans. Access to credit, the safety net for many households, begins to fray. The psychological impact is profound. People begin to feel trapped, constrained, unable to move forward. They delay life milestones: buying a home, starting a family, going back to school, because the financial foundation feels unstable. Businesses feel the slowdown as well. Retailers see fewer transactions, restaurants see fewer covers, hotels see lower occupancy, auto dealers see fewer test drives. Small business owners like Carla, who runs a home goods store, face rising costs and softening revenue. She must decide whether to cut hours, reduce inventory, shorten store hours, or dip into savings. She is not failing, she is adjusting. But her adjustments affect her employees, and her employees' adjustments affect their households, and those households' adjustments affect other businesses. This is the chain reaction that quietly reshapes an economy. Even large companies feel the pressure. They delay expansions, freeze hiring, reduce bonuses, and scale back capital investment. They become more cautious in their forecasts, more conservative in their spending, more selective in their decisions. The mood shifts from optimism to caution, from expansion to preservation. As spending slows and delinquencies rise, the credit system tightens further. A credit crunch does not mean credit disappears. It means it becomes harder to get, more expensive to borrow, and more selective in who qualifies. A couple applying for a mortgage may be denied not because they did anything wrong, but because lenders are protecting themselves. A small business owner seeking a line of credit to expand inventory may be turned away. A student applying for a loan to finish their degree may be rejected. These denials do not show up in the unemployment rate, but they shape the economic landscape in profound ways. When credit tightens, spending slows further. When spending slows, businesses cut back more. When businesses cut back, unemployment rises. And when unemployment rises, credit tightens again. This feedback loop does not guarantee a recession, but it increases the risk. It creates a sense of fragility, a feeling that the economy is balancing on a thin line between stability and strain. Rising unemployment is not just about job losses. It is about the chain reaction that moves through households, businesses, and the credit system. It is about the restaurant with fewer customers, the family tightening their budget, the small business owner delaying expansion, the lender becoming more cautious, the worker searching longer for a job, the graduate taking whatever they can find. It is about the emotional weight of uncertainty, the quiet fear that tomorrow may be harder than today, the hesitation to spend, the reluctance to take risks, the instinct to hold back. These are the early signs of a slowdown, the ones that appear before the headlines, before the charts, before the official declarations. Understanding these forces early gives households, businesses, and communities the chance to prepare for the choices the future may demand. It allows people to adjust proactively rather than reactively, to build resilience rather than scramble for stability, to navigate uncertainty with clarity rather than fear. The deeper you look into the dynamics of rising unemployment, the more you realize that the labor market is not a simple machine with predictable levers. It is an ecosystem, complex, interdependent, and sensitive to forces that often operate beneath the surface. When unemployment begins to rise, even modestly, it sets off a chain of behavioral changes that ripple through every corner of the economy. Households become more cautious, businesses become more selective, lenders become more conservative, and policymakers become more anxious. These reactions are not isolated. They reinforce one another, creating feedback loops that can either stabilize the economy or push it toward deeper instability. Understanding these loops is essential to understanding why a seemingly small shift in unemployment can have outsized consequences. One of the most important concepts in macroeconomics is the idea of the wealth effect. When people feel wealthier, because their home value rises, their retirement account grows, or their job feels secure, they spend more freely. But when unemployment rises, even slightly, the wealth effect reverses. People begin to feel poorer, even if their income has not changed. They check their bank accounts more often. They delay purchases they once made without hesitation. They become more sensitive to prices, more cautious about debt, more aware of financial fragility. This psychological shift is powerful because it affects not just those who lose their jobs, but those who fear they might. In this way, unemployment casts a shadow far larger than the number of people who are actually unemployed. This shadow extends across generations. Younger workers, like Olivia, face a job market that demands experience they do not yet have. Older workers face a job market that quietly discriminates against them, valuing youth, flexibility, and lower salary expectations. Middle-aged workers like Marcus face a job market that questions whether their skills are current enough, whether they can adapt quickly enough, whether they are worth the investment. Each generation experiences unemployment differently, but all feel its weight. For younger workers, unemployment can delay the start of adulthood, postponing independence, home ownership, marriage, and family formation. For older workers, unemployment can threaten retirement security, forcing them to dip into savings or delay retirement indefinitely. For middle-aged workers, unemployment can destabilize the very foundation of their lives: mortgages, children, aging parents, and long-term financial commitments. The psychological impact of unemployment is profound. Studies show that job loss can trigger anxiety, depression, and a loss of identity. Work is not just a source of income, it is a source of structure, purpose, and social connection. When people lose their jobs, they often lose their routines, their communities, and their sense of contribution. This emotional toll can linger long after they find new employment. Economists call this scarring, the long-term effects of job loss on earnings, confidence, and career trajectory. Workers who experience unemployment often earn less in future jobs, are more likely to experience unemployment again, and may struggle to regain the momentum they once had. These scars accumulate across the economy, shaping the labor force for years to come. The rise of automation and artificial intelligence adds another layer of complexity. Even before unemployment rises significantly, workers sense the shifting ground beneath them. They see self-checkout machines replacing cashiers, software automating administrative tasks, algorithms screening resumes, and AI tools performing tasks once reserved for skilled professionals. This creates a sense of unease, a feeling that the job market is not just cooling, but transforming. Workers wonder whether their skills will remain relevant, whether their jobs will exist in 5 years, whether they should retrain, and if so, for what. The uncertainty surrounding automation amplifies the psychological impact of unemployment, making workers more cautious, more anxious, and more hesitant to take risks. The political consequences of rising unemployment are equally significant. When people feel economically insecure, they become more sensitive to political messages that promise stability, protection, or radical change. Economic anxiety can fuel polarization, distrust, and frustration with institutions. It can shape elections, influence policy debates, and alter the national mood. Politicians respond to rising unemployment with proposals ranging from tax cuts to stimulus spending to protectionist trade policies. Some advocate for retraining programs, others for stricter immigration controls, others for expanded social safety nets. The political landscape becomes more volatile, more reactive, and more emotionally charged. Rising unemployment does not just affect the economy, it affects the social fabric. Globally, the labor market is undergoing similar shifts. In Europe, unemployment tends to be higher but more stable, cushioned by stronger social safety nets. In Asia, rapid technological adoption is reshaping industries at a breathtaking pace. In emerging markets, demographic pressures and limited job creation create chronic underemployment. The United States sits at the intersection of these trends, with a dynamic labor market that can generate jobs quickly, but also shed them quickly. This volatility makes the US labor market both resilient and fragile. It can bounce back rapidly from shocks, but it can also deteriorate quickly when confidence falters. The hidden economy, gig work, informal labor, under-the-table jobs, complicates the picture further. Millions of workers operate outside traditional employment structures, driving for rideshare companies, delivering food, freelancing online, or doing cash-based work. These workers often lack benefits, job security, and legal protections. When unemployment rises, many turn to gig work as a fallback, flooding the market and driving down earnings. The gig economy becomes a pressure valve, absorbing displaced workers but offering little stability. This creates a dual labor market, one visible in official statistics, and one hidden in the shadows. Demographic shifts also play a crucial role. An aging population reduces labor supply, while declining birth rates limit future workforce growth. Immigration becomes a key driver of labor force expansion, but immigration policy is often contentious and unpredictable. These demographic forces shape the long-term trajectory of the labor market, influencing everything from wage growth to productivity to economic potential. When unemployment rises, these structural factors become even more important, determining how quickly the labor market can recover and how resilient it will be in the face of future shocks. The sociology of work identity adds yet another layer. Work is not just a means of survival, it is a source of meaning. People define themselves by what they do: teacher, nurse, engineer, builder, creator. When unemployment disrupts this identity, the emotional impact can be profound. People feel unmoored, disconnected, uncertain of their place in the world. This loss of identity can affect mental health, relationships, and community cohesion. It can lead to isolation, withdrawal, and a sense of purposelessness. The emotional arc of losing and regaining stability is one of the most powerful, and least discussed, aspects of unemployment. All of these forces, economic, psychological, political, technological, demographic, sociological, interact in complex ways. Rising unemployment is not just a labor market issue, it is a multi-dimensional phenomenon that touches every aspect of society. It affects how people spend, how businesses invest, how lenders behave, how policymakers respond, how communities function, and how individuals see themselves. It is a story of numbers, but also a story of lives. A story of caution, adaptation, resilience, and uncertainty. A story that unfolds quietly at first, then loudly, then all at once. In the end, rising unemployment is not just an economic indicator. It is a reflection of how people live, adapt, and endure. It reveals the quiet decisions families make at kitchen tables, the pressure felt inside small businesses, the caution that spreads through boardrooms, and the uncertainty that settles into the minds of workers across generations. It exposes the fragility of confidence, the limits of savings, the weight of debt, and the deep human need for stability and purpose. And yet, within that uncertainty, there is resilience. People adjust, communities support one another, businesses reinvent themselves, and workers learn new skills and find new paths. The economy bends, strains, and recalibrates, but it does not stand still. Understanding these forces, not just the numbers, but the lives behind them, gives us the clarity to navigate whatever comes next. Because in every period of economic change, the most powerful asset we have is the ability to adapt, to prepare, and to move forward with intention rather than fear. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. If this conversation resonated with you, if it helped you see the economy with a little more clarity, or if it simply reminded you that you're not navigating these changes alone, then I'm grateful you spent this time with us. The world is shifting, the labor market is evolving, and uncertainty can feel heavy, but understanding the forces at work gives us power. It gives us perspective. It gives us the ability to prepare, to adapt, and to move forward with intention. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who might need it. And if you want more deep dives like this, more clarity, more context, more storytelling, make sure you follow the show so you never miss an update. This is the Daily Economy 24/7, where we break down the noise, illuminate the trends, and bring humanity back into the numbers. Until next time, stay informed, stay grounded, and as always, keep moving forward.